Okay, welcome to the July 18th, 2022 Board of Directors meeting for MSAD 51. We have everybody here except for Tom, right? Is that correct? Yep, Tom's got COVID. And then we have one member still missing, which is an open spot that will be appointed soon by the Cumberland Town Council. And so we have three new members here tonight. Christina Mitchell from Cumberland, Leanne Candora from North Yarmouth, and then Kim Vine, also from Cumberland. So do you guys want to say anything before we get started? You don't have to.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yep. Okay. Yep, just pull the mic up when you talk. Okay. Moving on. So first item, Jeff is going to take us through recognition.
So recognition tonight is, we don't have these folks with us tonight, but we did recognize all of our retirees, the ones that we knew in June at the end of the school year, and just want to throw up some pictures. And this is the mobile, right, Dirk? Yes. Okay. Just to recognize our retirees, we've also been posting these on social media. Just definitely want to say thank you to these folks who dedicated so much of their time and service and talents to the students of MSAD 51. Retirement is not the end of the road, it's just the beginning of the open highway, which we shared this at the staff recognition. Bob Antoine actually retired after 40 years as a physical education teacher at the high school in January. He retired at the end of the first semester. Kathy Kearney retired in June after teaching several years here as a teacher of the gifted and talented, K through 8, primarily in literacy and social studies. Esther Coyle at Greeley High School taught here for many years. She had taught in another district before coming to us, but was a math teacher, mostly geometry at Greeley High School. Doug Pride was a teacher, a math teacher in our district for, I think, 34 years at Greeley High School. And he was also the MSAD 51 Staff Member of the Year for 2022 as he retired. Edie Taylor is an educational technician at the high school. She's also worked at other schools. And she was with us, I believe, 16 or 17 years in our district. Kathy Allen was a secretary at the middle school for a long time secretary, and retired in June. Lori Chapman was an educational technician at Greeley Middle School 6-8. I believe she was in Edtech for, I want to say it was definitely over 20 years that she was with us. Ann Beatty Rose was a special educator at Greeley Middle School 6-8. She worked in the resource room with students who needed extra support. Donna Hobbins was retiring after 47 years in June as a special educator, and primarily at grades 4-5. And I believe almost all of those years were in Greeley, if not all of them. Vance Benoit retired after 33, 34 years as a teacher in Greeley, and most recently or primarily at the grades 4-5 level. And Sally Laughlin just retired as principal of Mabel I. Wilson School, and before that, she was Director of Academic Services, Curriculum Director for the district for several years before that, and worked as an assistant superintendent in another district before coming to Greeley. So I think she was in Greeley 12 or 13 years. So congratulations to all of those retirees. Want to just say thank you to all of them for amazing service to our district. And we're going to miss every one of them. Really, really huge shoes to be filling. And many, many thanks to them.
Well said. Congratulations and thank you. Anyone else? I neglected to mention our new junior student representative, Tommy Legat Barr. Anything you want to say, Tommy?
I think all set. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So moving on, approval of minutes for the June 22 meeting.
So moved.
Thanks, Mike. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Vanessa, thank you. Discussion? Okay, all in favor? All right. And opposed, and we should have some abstentions.
Abstain.
Okay, so we've got 4 abstentions. Okay. So just Mike and me and Ann. Okay. All right, moving on. Public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? And since it's Bob, I'm going to keep it to a strict 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the new members here, and welcome to you all. I'd like to take a couple of minutes here, and maybe more than the 3 that are allotted. I see that the room is virtually empty, so perhaps you'll humor me and listen carefully to my remarks. I served 15 years on the school board, and the year before I went on the school board, I attended every single meeting prior to my election in June. And one of the reasons was that I wanted to familiarize myself with the comings and goings and the workings of the district so that when I did get elected, I was ready to hit the ground running. One of the things that propelled me to run for the school board was watching the election of a chairman, and it was a painful, very painful thing to watch. And I was hoping that Scott Poulin would be here because he would be the only one in the room that would have an opportunity to share the history that I've had over the last 20, 25 years. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm here this evening. You're all a young board with not a lot of experience, and we have a lot on our table this year. We have a new school project, we have financial concerns, and I would hope that all of you would get on the budget committee. That's probably the most important thing that you can do this year as a group, is to understand the budget and understand school financing, and particularly in construction resources and how we go ahead with a new school. And one of the things that I would urge the board to do is to look outside and hire a construction superintendent or something of that matter to guide you, to be your man and or woman, someone that can help you make the decisions as you see this project come forward and act as a value engineer. We don't have that cross-section of people on the board that can look on that, and I think that it'd be well worth looking outside for someone in that resource. The other thing that I want to bring up to you is the selection of your chair and vice chair. Don't wait till next June to pick your next chair and vice chair. Every one of you here tonight should be looking at how you fit into a leadership position and how that is going to work. The most important thing for Jason to do is to mentor his vice chair so that the person that's going to be the chairman next year or whenever is able to step into that role and follow suit. People need to be stepping up, being ready to serve in that position. And at some level, that falls on the back of the superintendent, because a high-performing school board, there isn't a lack of leadership. There isn't a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge. It's everybody working together, pooling their resources so that no one individual can say, well, I'm controlling all the strings. It's we're all working as a team. I came here last year and said that I was not going to allow what had happened over the previous number of years, lack of conversation between the school board and the town council in the town of Cumberland. And one of the things that I instituted was a Friday morning meeting with the chair of North Yarmouth chair of the school district and the chair and vice chair of Cumberland. We opened it up to have the chairs and the vice chairs, and that didn't work out. So I'm hoping that that will continue, that the leadership of the district, the leadership of Cumberland, leadership of North Yarmouth can meet on a regular basis. And on a larger scale, it's important that the three boards meet regularly, that we can discuss the things that are on the table, that we don't have surprises from either one of us, any of the members, but we do have a tremendous school project in front of us that is going to have a huge impact on our communities and the cost of it. So I'd literally urge that all of you get involved, make sure that you're not just here to mentor a little pet project that you might think that that's why you stood up to serve on the school board, but it is a collaborative effort. It's an effort that requires a lot of hard work, and it's all of us working together. So I'm pleased to have you all here tonight, and I look forward to working with all of you in the coming year. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? Public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Couple of things to your point, Bob. Yes, I think a construction superintendent is reasonable. Jeff and I talked about it the other day in our long meeting, and I think that's something that we will offer to the board. You know, the questions there will be cost and when do we bring that person on. You know, this could be a 3 or 4 year project, so it's not a small cost, but I think that's potentially a good thing to do. Succession of chair, I agree. I mean, this is a very young board, myself included, so that is something that we need to do better, overlapping those roles, not only as the whole chair, but on committees. And we absolutely gutted our finance committee, and that's too bad. That's something we could do better. Just continuity in general. And coffee talk Friday mornings. Yeah, I missed this Friday because of a track meet with kids, but I will be there. And right after coffee talk, I have Jeff talk. So that's the plan. So, okay, moving on to presentations. We have no presentations, right?
No.
Okay. And you'll notice, board members, that I moved communications to the end of the agenda, and we can continue to fine-tune the agenda, but my logic there was that communications is really our flex time. So if we have a long meeting, we might not, spend time bringing up new subjects and that sort of thing. So I put that to the end, but I do have some stuff for communications tonight when we get there. Okay, so moving on to items for action. Can I hear a motion to start with?
I motion to approve appointments to professional positions as recommended by the superintendent. Did we want to do it as a group, or?
I'll second that.
All right, we have it as a group, Vanessa and Mike seconding.
Could we do a quick overview for the three positions?
Yep, Jeff's going to take us through. Yep.
We have 3 positions tonight that we're asking for approval by the board. We have a pathways coordinator at Greeley High School. This position is a continuing position. We had a resignation at the end of the school year, and this position basically takes care of the silo projects, internships that students have. It's a position that really opens up a lot of elective experiences for students in our district. We had 3 applicants for the position. This is a very specialized position. And we had 2 people that were interviewed by a team of folks at the high school and district, and chose the applicant that's in front of you for the position. The second position is a kindergarten position at Mabel I. Wilson School. We had 16 applicants for this position. 2 people were interviewed for the position by the team, and the team selected the applicant in front of you. This position, kindergarten enrollment numbers, I've been checking in with Corey Muncie, the principal at Mabel Wilson School this summer, and we finally made a decision in June that the position that we had in the budget that we were holding needed to be filled. The numbers, the enrollment numbers are climbing to the level that we anticipated and that were Rebecca Wandell had actually projected. At the beginning of the registration season in February, we weren't seeing those strong numbers that we usually would see at that month, and then they started coming and coming and coming as the spring went on, and we do need that 11th teacher for kindergarten. So we went ahead with that so that our class sizes are not going much further than 16 in kindergarten. The third position is a GMS 6-8 Spanish teacher. This is a replacement position for a teacher who resigned in June. There were 6 applicants. Again, this is a specialty position. Time of year and the position that we're hiring for will dictate how many applications that we get. We tend to have more applications during the spring and not as many as school is getting out and after that in the summer. So we had 6 applicants for the position. 4 were interviewed by a team at the middle school, and then I do all the final interviews, by the way, with the administrator, the applicable administrator, whether it's the principal or director, before I make a nomination to the board for potential approval. So those are the 3 positions this evening before the board.
Okay, thank you. Further questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor? And opposed, unanimous. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. For the board, I asked Jeff on this employment checklist form to add the number of candidates or the number of applications received for the position to add on that form. I think that might be helpful, especially we're in times of struggle hiring people, so that could be valuable information. So if you think of anything else that you think should be added to this form, just email Jeff and I and can look at that as well. But I thought that was a good thing to add. Okay, moving on to Superintendent's Report.
Yes, so tonight, make sure I find the right one there. My report is relatively short. However, we've had, believe it or not, even during the summer, our students are doing great things. So here's some highlights. As I mentioned, also all of our retirees are being featured on social media, but proud day for Ranger Nation. I know this news is old, but it's since the last board meeting, so I wanted to make sure we put it back out publicly. The Greeley girls lacrosse team won their first state title, beating York 13-7. So they are the Class B state champs for 2022. Really proud of our Lady Rangers in the lacrosse program for that win. This is terrific. High school student Charlie Moore sung, and played the piano for the finale song of an episode on Voices of Hope. And this is actually a program about addiction to drugs and alcohol in Maine. And the Voices of Hope is a series of programs about Portland's homeless population. We've actually had several students from Greeley High School who have been supporting this project, as well as some of our staff members, and just looking at addictions of substances in general, and how Maine can help with this problem and how we can all be helping with this problem. And really want to thank Charlie and other students for stepping up to the plate with this particular project. Congratulations to Audrey Cohen, who is a high school swimmer, and she has been named the 2022 All-American by the Greeley. She's only the second swimmer in Greeley history to be named an All-American by the International Association of Swim Coaches. The last time that a student at Greeley High School got this honor was in 1982. So we're really proud of Audrey, and she's also the only Maine swimmer in 2022 to receive this honor. She's also the Conference Swimmer of the Year, the State Swimmer of the Year, and the Press Herald Swimmer of the Year. But she just received this latest honor, I believe in early July, earlier this month. And congratulations to high school student Teddy Conway for winning the Maine Law Day Award in response to the question that was asked, what role does the Constitution play in times of change? And also to Charlotte Taylor, one of 240 finalists out of over 16,000 submissions to the New York Times Student Editorial Contest. So congratulations to both Teddy and Charlotte. Those are amazing awards. And again, these are all things that happened just after school got out or just as school was ending. So always have great things going on. This summer we have some summer maintenance projects. This is not all of them, but these are some of them. Drainage issues at Tuttletown, which is the playground at Mabel I. Wilson School. Often we'll close that playground during the winter months when there's ice getting built up on the playground. So we'll have days, sometimes even a couple weeks, where students really are not able to go out onto the playground for safety reasons. So we are fixing that problem this summer, and thanks to the town of Cumberland for assisting with that project to really put we hope a permanent drainage fix in there so water is not continuously leaking onto the playground. Installing bathrooms and modulars at Mabel I. Wilson School. We have the big modular unit that has bathrooms in it. Our smaller units do not. So we are adding bathrooms to those modulars this summer. We have regular classrooms out there. We have special classrooms out there. And students traveling in and out of the main building to use the restroom is certainly not an optimal thing for that to be happening at this age. Installing bathrooms in the field house is also happening this summer. Again, this is a school safety issue with people going into the high school to access the restroom during events. Feel that making sure that our buildings are secure and having bathrooms that are more accessible to the public during events on the field is very important. Installing climate control in the field house. Currently, there's no heat or air conditioning in the field house. We have our weight room, which has also been upgraded recently, and it was a senior project as well. Got new equipment in there, redone different things in there. We'll have a bathroom that's accessible to the students that are using the weight room as well. Completely revamping the Mabel I. Wilson School main office for better security. This will give the secretaries in the office better eyesight up and down our hallways and the main doors of the school, and making sure that our school is safe at the Wilson School. So that project is underway right now, and there's actually nothing in the office. The floor was redone, and now the security upgrades are going in. Adding bollards to vulnerable areas for safety. This was a recommendation of the Department of Homeland Security when they did an audit of our buildings back in 2020. And because of COVID and other reasons, we had to put this on hold, but we're continuing with those recommendations of the Homeland Security Department in securing those vulnerable areas this summer. Renovating the district office for added office space with the addition of an HR specialist to the district office, and also repainting. If you've been by the district office recently, you notice that a lot of the paint has been chipping for years. We're finally going to get that repainted this summer. When you go into the middle school, some of you might have noticed that the beautiful bench that is at the beginning, that is a popular spot for students to sit on. That huge bench really needs a refinishing. It hasn't been refinished in years. It is really chipped and worn. It is a focal point for the school. So we are having that professionally redone this summer. And we're completing sprinkler projects per the fire marshal. We needed to have that completed this summer in all of our modulars. We had the sprinklers put in to the large modular unit, but we had not completed that project for the smaller ones. We will be completing that project this summer as well. And then finally tonight, these are renderings of the proposed new primary school for North Yarmouth. And as a result of this project, the district asked Marnie Dean, who is a local community member, parent, and she also owns her own business and does PR. She used to be a television reporter as well in the business, if she would help us with a promotional video. And I'd like to play that video for you tonight. She just completed it, and this is actually the first public unveiling of this video. It's relatively short, and my screen is very full of documents, so I'm hoping I get the right one here.
The thing that keeps me coming back for 30 years is the students. They're the energy, they're just the hope of what's good in our world.
Connie Russell says most teachers at Mabel I. Wilson will tell you everything is fine because it's their job to make it that way.
But I need to tell you it's not fine. It's not okay that someone's learning in a broom closet. You know, it's not okay that I can't take kids out onto Tuttletown because it's a play area meant for 40 or 50 kids, and there's 200 of us trying to go at one time, and it's just not safe.
Mabel Wilson is a school built for 550 students. There are more than 700 now, and that number is growing. Portable classrooms have taken up valuable outside play space.
There's not a lot of space to move around on the field. At this point, it's not really a field, it's more of like a patch of grass.
Every spare inch is being utilized. Hallways are makeshift classrooms. Gym classes are now combined, and art supplies crowd a classroom with no closet space. At pickup time, cars snake around the building.
We're on a piece of property that really would house one school in another district. And yet we have all of our students on one piece of property. As people know, it's hard to get in and out of here at certain times of the day.
In November, voters in Cumberland and North Yarmouth will be asked to approve a new primary school, pre-K through second grade. The school will be built on a 76-acre parcel on Gray Road in North Yarmouth, land with woods, hills, fields, and an abundance of nature.
I think it would be great to have a school in a more rural setting. Schools are about roots, and the idea of SAD 51 children first putting their roots down in North Yarmouth is just a wonderful thought to me.
Most of the land would be available as outdoor space for the school, with plans to allow community access to some of that land and trails. About 5 acres will be used for the school itself, a building that will be built for 21st century learning, with students' needs at the center of every design decision.
I am aware of quite a few people who grew up in this community and now send their kids to these schools. So a lot of people don't go very far, and so we're investing in future generations and leadership in the community.
I'm very empathetic about single people and seniors who are really having trouble paying their bills, paying their taxes, and staying in the community. I think it's incumbent upon both communities to figure out ways to help with that don't go first and foremost to cutting the school budget.
The district is developing a tiered finance plan to soften the impact of the proposed school on taxpayers. The new school project would be part of the overall school budget.
It's time and it's needed. We've waited really 7 years since we started seeing those initial increases. Had 3 studies to confirm it, to make sure. This is the piece of property that I think is the best piece of property that we've looked at. We have an architectural firm that's designing a progressive, beautiful school, but at a reasonable price.
Kids come with a lot of different needs. We need to figure out ways that our space can provide that. Environment is an important piece for kids. I'm prepared to pay it forward. I know people did for me. It's worth the investment. The kids are worth the investment.
So would like to thank Marnie Dean for putting that together, promotional video. There were a lot of people involved in that process. And if you have any, so this is kind of, we're still in draft phase, I think. She is certainly open to any tweaks or changes that we want to pass along before we unveil it more publicly and put it up on different platforms, social media. We'll have a couple informational sessions as well in the fall. But wanted to give you a preview of the promo video and go from there.
Thank you. Comments on the superintendent report or the video? Go ahead, Mike.
All right, I have two quick questions. One just specifically on the video. Well, a comment and a question. The comment is that was really good. So kudos to Marnie. The question is, did we get the okay from, or do we need to get waivers or okays from any kids you see their face?
We did check those.
Okay.
Yeah, we checked all that out, and we had the administration at the Wilson School do that.
Okay.
Hopefully you didn't see a student that you think has a waiver, but we did have that, we did run that by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's great. My second question is not about the video. It's just a basic question on how are we doing on hiring?
How are we doing on hiring, staff hiring?
And if you want, we can wait until the communications portion too.
Yeah, I'll defer to Jason on that.
Yep, we can wait on that, but.
That's fine with me.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else in superintendent report, video?
I had a question about the video.
Go for it.
Would it be possible for them to caption it? There were a couple times when the teachers or, their voices dropped just a little bit, and those of us
To
who are
caption
getting
it?
older.
Yes, I can ask for it to be captioned.
Yeah, thank
Yep,
you.
I think that would be an easy fix.
And yes, Kim, thank you for the question. I think for accessibility issues, if that's going to be put out, it absolutely should be
Yep.
captioned. So, great, thanks.
That's the first time I've seen that video. It's well done. I think that probably it's something that the new school building committee and communications could work together on, furthering and maybe other versions of it, adding to it. It'll be important, the communication and message for the whole building. That's well done.
With the video, I don't know if this would be getting too far into the weeds, but the new legislation that passed for 65 and over and the tax is, I don't know if, I know what we're trying to promote, but I don't know if that would be helpful if there was a little blip of someone who's speaking with regards to that. I know there was a gentleman from Cumberland who had like a 3-tier approach of what senior citizens and individuals that are on fixed income, what they could do.
The property tax relief, you mean?
There's the property tax relief, and there was 2 others, and I can't remember the gentleman that spoke when we had the group meeting. And I don't know if it would be getting too far into the weeds with it on this particular video, or maybe just kind of more thoughtful approach.
Yeah, I think that those, even though it's state, actually, we're looking at 2 people that probably can answer this more, and I don't know if, Jason, you want to have them answer it, but I don't know how the legislature, what the legislation is and how it will impact, but I know it's up to municipalities to also implement that, and not the school district itself, but the towns collect the taxes on that, so they're the ones that would set up those property relief programs.
Yeah, to
Yep.
inform them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the broader point is a really good one though, Vanessa, that we should be very clear about options for property tax relief
Yeah.
and potential ways that maybe we could even make it better, and maybe we could work with the town.
Yeah, because right now the Homestead Relief Act just passed for 65 and older, and you have to apply every year, and your tax rate, if you're 65 and over, remains the same. I'm not an accountant or give legal advice, but that's what just came forth, and that's just recently. So that might be something to say, hey, we are looking into this, we are looking at alternatives.
Yeah.
It's a good program, and the most recent town council meeting for Cumberland, they went over that in the process. It's a good program. It'll help seniors. I'm a little hesitant to mix the two necessarily, but yeah, the most recent town council meeting, if you watch that, they went over it, and it's fantastic for seniors. The only thing, one little key point is it has to be renewed every year.
Right.
So seniors that are going to use that, don't miss that December deadline. But that's got nothing to do with school. Well, sort of, but, okay.
It does, but
Yeah.
you're right.
Okay. Let's see. Moving on. Anything else for superintendent's report? Video? No? Okay. All right, so committee reports. We don't officially have any committees right now. I am going to ask for a student report in a minute, but prior to that, any of the senior members here have any specifics on any committee stuff?
Just one from communications. I've emailed with Jeff about getting a meeting on the books, especially now that we have the video out, and exactly what we've been discussing about how to properly get the word out about the school and specifically about the video, about, you know, doing snippets of it potentially and such. So there's, that is all coming forward. I did have a question about timing in terms of committee structure. Is that something we'll be dealing with at the retreat?
I'll be talking about that in communications at the end of the meeting. Yep.
Okay.
Any other committee stuff? Okay. Tommy, do you have a student report you would like to share?
I guess the most prominent thing that I've been seeing happening this summer is just the training that's going into fall sports and fall activities, and also just the athletic teams as a whole. It's not just the fall, but there's a lot of playing that's been going down and a lot of training that's been going on, and it's been really impressive to see all the teams really hard at work.
Good, thank you. I'm going to back up for a minute if we could, Jeff. Vanessa had asked about the Edtech positions. Could you elaborate on that and what we're doing, because it's going to be a big issue in another couple months if we don't succeed to some degree.
Yeah. Right now we have 13.5 vacancies for EdTech for special education, and we have 2 vacancies for regular education. I think Mike was asking this too, both Vanessa and Mike. So we have 15.5 vacancies for EdTech positions. We have very few applicants. We have been continuously advertising since the spring for educational technicians. We're getting close to filling a lot of our positions, and we've had some resignations since school has stopped. People who have gotten teaching jobs. Many of our ed techs are certified as teachers, and they get a teaching jobs either here or somewhere else, and that creates a vacancy. Some that are just leaving the profession, the education profession altogether, are leaving. Some are leaving for personal reasons that are family related or whatnot. And we have tried to mitigate some of this by reconfiguring some of our ed tech positions into teaching positions. We have a lot more interest in our teaching positions than ed tech positions right now. We're seeing the same shortage that a lot of other districts are seeing and other organizations are seeing. We have reached out to a temp agency to see if we can get some help and relief from a temp agency that would help us at least temporarily find educational technicians to start the school year off. And the administrative team and I have already started brainstorming some ideas beyond what we've already been doing for relieving the pressure. We are, a month and a half away from school, but we need to start thinking about this right now with that many vacancies and with not having a lot of applicants. Our regular ed positions we'll be able to fill without any problems. We get several applicants for those positions that are qualified. Special education is very challenging, and we have a couple of programs that are the most challenging to fill our positions in, and that is FLS and behavior are our 2 most challenging areas for staffing. We have a lot of committed staff who have been with us for years and years and years in those programs, but as people leave, we're not getting the applicants that we've gotten in the past. We are the highest paid right now, as of right now. We are paying at the highest level in the region for educational technicians, thanks to the good work of both sides of the bargaining table for the educational technician contracts. However, that is still not bringing us the applicants. And I think, some of it, the feedback that we've been getting, I've been doing some exit interviews for people who are leaving the district. We offer those, and we get people that will take us up on it or fill out a survey that's an exit survey as they're leaving, is that they can work somewhere else in a different profession and get paid more money. It seems to be a pretty big factor as well, and people that are moving on to teaching positions that pay considerably more than an educational technician position. Tend to be the 2 biggest reasons. And so we are concerned about it. I've asked the Director of HR, Mr. Poulin, and our Director of Instructional Support, Dr. Olson, to come up with a written plan for mitigating the vacancies, and we'll be discussing that with the leadership team. The first week of August, we have a retreat with the leadership team, and we'll be discussing mitigation strategies for those positions. But at this point, that's where we're at. I think the last thing I'd mention is if anyone's listening, and we will be putting this out through an email blast within the next week, we are going to be asking if there are parents that would like to be educational technicians. We offer great benefits, if not highest pay in the region for the position. May not be what people are looking for pay, but it is on their children's schedule, school year schedule, and our schedule. And for the very first time, we're publicly saying that we will be offering flex schedules for folks that do not want to work a full week. We'll be offering some flex schedules for parents who have children in the school but are not completely sure they want to jump back into the employment realm again, but want to have their children's schedules. We'll be offering opportunities to work part-time, and we'll be matching those roles together with other people. So we're trying different things, and we'll be I'll be reporting back to the board at the retreat on our where we've headed with that in terms of being able to fill those positions. We will lose people between now and the beginning of school too, and that's what concerns me the most.
So go ahead. Go ahead, Ann.
I'm wondering if it's a possibility that we could offer some sort of bonus that if someone signs on full-time and they complete teaching the school year, that at the end of the school year they could receive additional financial compensation.
So I think that's come up during, I know, bargaining. It's come up, and it would have to be an action of the school board or the board of directors to make that. So I think it's something that, and we can look into, how that would jive with the collective bargaining contract or not, if you'd like us to do that.
Vanessa?
What are, I guess for lack of terminology of special ed tech, what are the certifications? What will they be doing? Is it all the same 16, or I think you mentioned 13 positions? Is it, I guess I'm unclear where it falls in the roles of, is it just assisting the teachers?
Yep.
Like a teacher's assistant?
It mostly is. I mean, it depends on the program. So we have ed techs that are regular ed techs. We have 25 regular ed techs in our district. And primarily regular ed techs work with children around RTI programming. They might work in a library setting as an ed tech 3. And then we have ed tech 3s that do just general programming, working with multiple classes of students that need support, usually through RTI. And then special education is more of our program special education, which is where our vacancies really are. Which
is the special education for reading and math?
It's mostly functional life skills,
okay.
Students with multiple disabilities, and with students with behavioral challenges and needs.
Okay. And they need certification from the state for?
They just need authorization.
Authorization.
Yeah,
okay.
EdTech authorization. And our district has always hired, there's EdTech 1, 2s, and 3s in the state. We've always hired 3s. However, we have been opening up, and now we hire 2s, and we will hire 1s on certain occasions. We actually just hired an EdTech 1 a couple weeks ago, and we've started hiring 2s as well. We've gotten out of the business of saying we're only hiring 3s. 3s can be completely independent by state authorization, and so, 2s and 1s do have to be supervised by a teacher, which makes it a little more challenging, but we have tried to be as flexible as possible in our hiring.
The other, those 16 applicants, I know it was for a kindergarten teacher position. Would any of them fall into that category to get them started working here in the district?
Good question. I forgot that part.
Could we reach out to
Some of
them?
our principals are doing that right now.
Okay.
We actually discussed it with them last week, that if they would like to reach out to applicants for teaching positions, they had some, we do tier our positions out, and if often, if you don't have experience, you might not get an interview in our district. However, that might be a good way to become an ed tech and then get your foot in the door. So principals have now elected to start calling some of our recent applicants for teaching positions who are often new graduates from college and saying, do you want to be an ed tech. So
Okay.
that is happening. I forgot that part.
Great. I realized, sorry, one other question that I wanted to ask is if it would be possible for us to have these positions set up where they could be internships from any students in social work school?
Yeah, that's something that I've actually been intrigued by, the internship piece. And I did talk to USM probably a couple of years ago about the idea of having interns or students at the college level, especially at USM, who would like to work here either as substitutes or ed techs. And the head of the teacher education department was interested. And at that point, they put out some information to students. We didn't get any interest at that point. Most people that were willing to do it were willing to do it in Portland or Gorham, right where USM was, but not to travel. So we didn't really get any interest here. But I do think it's worth another try. But we did look into that.
And I had one other question. As far as, you said you were advertising?
Yes.
How far away do you advertise? Is it net cast very broadly, or?
So serving
Just Maine?
schools, we advertise on serving schools, which is statewide, and anyone that's interested in a job in Maine usually goes there. But we've been advertising in the Forecaster for ed techs as well. I think we've advertised there multiple times now. And just social media, we put it out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then we are looking into, with a temp agency, we're looking into finding other sites where people who would like to be ed techs or those kind of positions might be more willing or more able to go to those sites or more interested in going to those sites. Because we've been limited to basically serving schools in Forecaster.
Are you limited to Maine? Can you
No.
advertise in?
No, we can advertise anywhere. And I don't think we're going to get educational technician applicants. We do get teacher applicants from out of state. In fact, one of the people you just approved tonight is from, I believe, Oregon or Washington State. And that's actually very typical. We get several people from out of state that we end up hiring every year. But for ed tech positions, I think the pay and the benefits don't match somebody, driving here, definitely not. So.
I guess I have one additional question. Is there any additional incentives or programming around the ed tech position that it eventually becomes a teaching position, if that's a person's pathway, and would that increase in interest in a position if they know there would be serious consideration with moving into a teaching position?
Yep. If they have a teaching certificate, and we also have ed techs who are hired as ed techs, don't have a teaching certificate, but during their time as an ed tech, they will acquire their teaching certificate, and we will pay for their courses. So that's an incentive for them to do that. And we've had several people do that. And we've had several ed techs move into teaching positions as well in our district. So that's definitely an opportunity. They have to apply for it just like anyone else. But we've had many people in our district who have had many years of experience as an ed tech, finished their teacher certification, became a teacher either here or somewhere else. So it's great. It's a great place to start.
Go for it, Kim.
Continuing to think outside the box. I do recall when my daughter was in high school, she would go down to Mabel Wilson and assist. I think it was kind of like a big brother, big sister kind of program.
The Bigs and Littles.
Is that still, does that
Yes.
still exist in high
Yep.
school? Is that something that could be expanded a bit to somehow get some older kids in the classroom? Would that be of help at all?
Yep, we have the Bigs and Littles. Now, during COVID, we actually brought back this spring.
Okay.
And this fall, it will be, I think, much more active, having Bigs and Littles. But we also have silo projects at the high school through the Pathways program. And for example, we had a student who was a senior. He went down to the Wilson School. He was down there for, I think, 6 weeks, helping out in classrooms at the end of the school year. So we have several students that do that during the year. So I think that's, I think that's a great way for, students to get interested in maybe education as a profession.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah.
And I remember the student at Wilson School, I was talking to him about it, and he said, no, I'm really thinking about being a teacher. So.
Okay. You said we could get another update after the retreat. Is that the administration retreat or? the board retreat?
I'm at the board retreat. And I'll certainly give the board more updates before then, because that's at least a month away.
Yeah.
But I think we have a leadership retreat the first week of August. So after that, I should be able to at least give an email update to the board.
Yeah, that would be great. I would encourage you also to think outside the box. On the topic of interns, my wife mentioned the same thing in Wyndham. She has had a few interns, college students, and of course in the last couple of years that becomes flex space. Yeah. So she has to, my wife goes and does something else and the intern takes over the class, and you know, it just kind of helps extra cushion. So
we do, every year we have student teachers that come in as well, and so I think over the last 2 years we've had obviously put a stop to some of that because for obvious reasons. This spring, we had several student teachers back in our schools, which is great.
So, I mean, it sounds like we're doing a lot. I guess I would just ask that you ask the board what it will take to solve the problem. You know, even if it's unorthodox, you know, lay out whatever that delta is. If more teaching positions to fill it or whatever, lay it out and ask for it, and the board can choose to do that or not. But if we have 15 and a half positions, maybe ballooning up to 20, that's going to be terrible. And so to the community, consider yourself asked as far as you know, chipping in and investing in your community.
Yeah, I mean, I think for working parents, or I mean, parents with children at home, and you've been in the workforce, but you took some time off and you're thinking you'd like to get back into it. I know that many people have been in that spot. We will work with you on flex schedules and everything, and a school schedule is a great schedule, but we will be sending an email, a specific email out to all parents within the next week with this ask and this information. We really need to have some people who are able to step in into these roles. It's very important, and we'll be doing some other things as well to try to create more opportunities for people to be in our system.
Okay, great. And briefly, the HR assistant, where are we at with that?
We're going to be advertising that position. You should see that advertised. It will be either advertised this week or next week. We're finalizing some details around. There's some internal interest in that position, so we are looking at that, and then it will be advertised.
We're making some space in the district office.
We are. There is a space that is being created as we speak in the district office, and that's why the district office has been closed since the 1st of July.
Okay. Anything else on that stuff that we backed up on the superintendent's report? Okay. And we glossed over committees. All right, so moving on to communications. I've got a bunch of stuff here that I'm going to throw into communications. I'm going to try to do more regular updates of various things at the meetings, maybe stuff that doesn't happen in a regular board meeting, my discussions with Jeff, that sort of thing, and just sort of keep board members up to date. And so maybe I'll do these chair reports like this. Some of this stuff in these reports will be like actionable items coming up in future meetings, or action items that I need from members, stuff that's coming up, information to get to me or something. So recently, Jeff and I met last week for about 3 hours and solved all the world's problems. And so we will be meeting regularly as needed, not necessarily every single week, but as needed. So if you guys have topics that you want me to bring up with Jeff to flesh out more, please share them with me. And Ann and I will be meeting, we already talked about with Bob here, coffee talk or whatever with the town leaders each Friday. And again, share your topics with us, and we'll stay connected with the towns. And building those relationships can only help. I went to a recent town council workshop and then the concurrent meeting where they talked about the process of appointing the new member coming up. and the deadline was recently extended, so we hope to have a new member before the retreat, and hopefully maybe like second week in August, I think is what I heard.
Jason, is that done with, how is that selected? I know North Yarmouth was a little different.
I could forward you the email. So the first deadline went past, and there was 6 applicants, but they didn't have any applicants early on, so they extended the deadline. So now we're a couple weeks out. They're going to whittle it down, I think, to 2 to 4 people that they're going to interview, maybe more.
Who?
What?
The town council?
So, yep, so all
Okay.
the people that so the nominations committee of the town council is going to whittle it down to 2 to 4, maybe more, and then all of those people will sit in front of the entire town council for interviews and questions, and then it'll go from there. So, yes.
And they will select.
Then they'll select, yeah. Does that sound right, Bob? Yeah, okay.
No, it was the same in North Yarmouth, so I was just wondering, it was the same in North Yarmouth, so I was wondering if it was the same process in Cumberland.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. A couple weeks ago, I sat through a 5-hour training with Drummond Woodsum and learned that the role that we play is absolutely impossible to do up here. So that was very helpful. It was talking about the legalities of what our role is and leadership in challenging times. So that was good, 5 hours on Zoom, so that's what I did. And I've been trying to catch up on all of our policies and reading through 223 of them.
It's either 223 or 233.
Yeah,
Forget
something like that. So upcoming things that we have, new members, we'll take pictures of you guys at the retreat and get those posted on the website. For everyone in the public and spouses of board members, I wanted to point out on our website, if you go to calendars, there are, I think, 5 calendars listed, which is the school board calendar, each school, the GCA, and the entire district calendar. And each one of those, you can subscribe to that calendar, and it puts it in with all your other Google calendars. So now my wife can't complain that she doesn't know when I have board meetings. So that's a nice little tool. It's for every building. Everybody should know about that.
Solving your personal problems.
Yes, that's what everybody should know about. Yeah. All right, so I'd like board members' input on potentially changing the venue for this meeting. This is a beautiful space, but I don't find it particularly inviting and doesn't feel great for interacting with the public. So something we can discuss in a future meeting, or let me know via email what you think. I've talked to Jeff about it, and the Geiger room would be available and not too hard to make happen, I think. And then the other thing to throw a kink into that is I wondered about potentially having the occasional meeting up in North Yarmouth in that beautiful building. And I think that might go a long way with community members. I guess Jeff would have to solve some technical problems, but.
Well, actually, Mr. Van Kuren would, but we can move the meetings back to the Geiger room, which they were up until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
If the board is interested in that, that would be easy enough. And actually, all of our setup was in there. I see Dirk coming around the corner, and we can certainly talk about it more. But we have infrastructure that was set up for that room specifically for board meetings. And in terms of North Yarmouth, I'm sure we can talk to Dirk and figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll put that on the agenda for discussion next meeting, and you guys can think about that. The other part of that is I'd like to have this space available for all other uses and the tens of thousands of dollars of revenue that it'll bring in. So the other thought regarding regular meetings is potentially an earlier time, potentially 6 p.m. That might sound awful, but you'll like that when we're here till 11 sometimes, so just a thought to put out there. Committee assignments we have coming up, and we'll finalize those. I say we, I guess it's me. We'll finalize the committee assignments near the end of the summer and probably after the retreat. So in the next few weeks, I'd like to hear from all of you, and I'm happy to do a phone call or even come and sit in person and talk through, you know, what's important to you for committee assignments, where you'd like to be, your priorities, your skill sets, all of that, whatever. And then we have to come up with a final list. Also, at the next meeting, I would like to ask this board to officially form a new school building committee. And then I will be asking board members on this board, town council members, select board members, Jeff, of all the people that should be on that committee. So in my mind, the important things there are people that have a finance history, an engineering history, and then probably I think it would be smart to have a couple of people that are PR people, marketing people, communications, that sort of thing. And I think there should be some overlap with those members on that committee and the communications committee. And I'm happy to take everybody's feedback from town council members or whatever, whether it's generally you think it should be this type of person or specific people. We've got a lot of great people in town, and that committee needs to be well balanced because it's a big lift, and I'll be honest, I can't do it. I'm going to look to others to do it. So that committee will be super important. I'll take all the feedback I can get. But this board has to form that committee in the first place before we can put members on it. Agenda format, I moved communications down. I think potentially, I'll take people's feedback about other improvements that you'd like to see potentially with the agenda, just to make it flow better, just to maybe have better visibility with the public. I kind of don't like how all the action items are stacked up at the bottom. I kind of feel like maybe we could talk about them and vote on them and have public comment on each of them, but I'm happy to hear from others. And I wasn't on the board necessarily during some of the worst times of that. So I appreciate that the public comment got heated at times, but I'd like to potentially improve on the agenda format and add some more stuff. One thing I'll be asking of this board this year versus what I saw at least in the last year, and Drummond Woodson will be at our retreat talking about some of this along with other topics, but I'd like to ask that more communications is routed through the chair and through the vice chair, and that you sort of, if it isn't super time sensitive, if it's stuff that can wait till a weekly report or the next board meeting, that we try to batch information so that I can funnel it to Jeff and he can answer things in a more efficient manner. I'm not trying to control things, but when there's reply all for emails, I mean, in the course of some days with 9 people on the email, well, it's actually way more than that, and reply all, this question, that question, I mean, it just eats up a lot of Jeff's time. And my own time. It's exhausting. I mean, we all see it. So I'd like to try to do more of that, streamline communications a bit if it's not time sensitive, and I'm happy to take everybody's feedback on that, but just try to free up some of Jeff's time. The other thing, let's see. Yeah, and Drummond Woodson's also going to be at the retreat to just talk about the role of board, legally speaking, which is a lot of what we just spent time on with the new members in orientation. And it's, and again, it's kind of an impossible role. So moving on, our next meeting will be actually the retreat of August 22nd, and that is an official meeting. It's sort of very informal. We talk about goals and that sort of thing, but there will be a couple of actionable items there approving some more staff. So it will be a public meeting, but again, informal. So around goals, be thinking about what your goals are or what you think the board's goals should be for this coming year. That's something that we need to come up with and agree on at the retreat. So that's all I had for that. Any questions, comments, discussion on that?
And just to confirm timing with the open Cumberland position, would the goal have that filled by the time of the retreat? Does that align with the town of Cumberland's?
I've been told by the town council that it would definitely be filled by the 22nd of August, and I believe that the appointment's actually going to happen maybe around the second week in August. So,
great.
Yeah, and I agree, that's important. I pushed a little bit to try to get that to happen earlier. Okay. Anything else?
So should we just come prepped for discussion of board's goals, or do you want anything written ahead of time?
On the goals specifically, I think probably we should write those out. Maybe I should make a Google form so that we collect. That one is an important one, yeah. The other stuff, this other kind of more administrative stuff, I think just be prepared with your thoughts. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Vanessa. All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
I was going to say they're all.
That's so sad.
Always.